All right, so we're recording. Yeah, so this plan is based on some of the work that's already in flight. So 1.4 is going to be a shorter release cycle. We have roughly 5 weeks of dev time to get this landed. And the overall theme is most likely going to be usability, reliability, stability, and simplicity, right? So that's the TOC direction guidance that we expect to be. And we have a few items in the list, and I think some of the stuff may change in terms of priority. So the first thing we have is the multi-object analysis. So the work has been going on in this space for a while. So we are trying to align between Kiali and Istio on this one. So there are some discussions going on, and I'm hoping that we will actually reach a consensus on this one soon. The outcome of that will be a validation model to be established, and then we can start unifying our rule sets and essentially tooling. So there's also existing functionality in Istio cuddle for doing validation that should be subsumed into this work. And then one thing I added here is to actually add online documentation that we can refer to, right? So the idea here is we can incorporate error codes that are easy to search, and then we should have online documentation describing what the problem is so that users can easily go and find them. So we also want to actually expose this semantic analysis through the CRD's status fields. So there's a prototype for this already in place. It's about to land maybe in a couple of weeks, but it's not production ready. So for 1.4 as a P2, we should get it and make it, productionized, but still have it protected by a flag by default. And there has been some asks coming in about creating an API head from Galley so that Galley can actually expose the whole error set from a single point, instead of having these dispersed across multiple CRD status fields. So
we're returning what, a summary of errors?
The current snapshot of errors, essentially, in a sense.
Okay.
So we can do this easily through Control-Z. That should be okay. It's just that, is it the right model? What's the requirement here, right? What is the exact requirement, so to speak?
Well, I think from my perspective, can I walk up to a cluster and say, does everything look good? Or do I have to go and grovel through 800 resources to say, is that one good? Is that one good? Is that one good?
Yeah, but you can do multiple things, right? We can actually create Kubernetes events, create telemetry events, right? So telemetry is the other way we can actually have a gauge of outstanding errors, for example, right? So we really intend, or maybe we integrate this with Kiali, and Kiali can provide the user interface for this, So really it's a requirements question at this point. So Jason has been working on integrating Q into our validation model. So most of the work is already done. So we just need to kind of push it over the edge, so to speak. So the outcome of this should be, we should have JSON schema definitions embedded in our CRDs. And then if we can replace our hand-rolled validation code with Q-based rules, that would be great, I think. So that actually allows us to move a lot of the manual validation into just some simple declarative form that can be collocated with the protos, which is also another nice aspect of this. And I think the biggest cost to this one is going to be just kind of having this publicized, among the Istio folks.
So are we going to take out the manual validation and move it to Q? Is that part of this work?
Yeah, that's part of that work.
Okay.
Yeah, just the validation package.
Okay.
Okay, so the other work, the independent work that's going on is essentially establishing Go client libraries for Istio. So Rob from Red Hat and Niraj actually had some community support for this. Rob already has a PR trying to land this, and on our side, on Google side, Megan and Jason is looking at this one. And I think this is going to be a relatively straightforward work that we can fit into this this release. So I'm hoping that this is just a couple of weeks of work, and
Yeah,
we should be able to land this.
I'm talking to Rob today, and if we can unblock his work on the building the image, then I think it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay. So there's a bunch of Galley improvements here. So the nice thing is all of these P0s are already implemented. It's just that they're flag protected today and they're off by default. So we need to enable do a bit more testing and enable them on by default for 1.4. So this is essentially mostly cost is mostly on the test side. There's also a little bit of functionality that I want to actually move from Pilot to Galley so that we can make Pilot Kubernetes agnostic. So I actually spoke to Nino about this, so he was interested in this work, but so I think he won't have bandwidth to get this done. So if somebody can pick this up from the community, that would be great. I should actually add a note for that. Versioning this is essentially creating a version conversion webhook for multiple API versions. And actually Louis is asking to escalate this priority-wise. So, Jason, we discussed about you maybe tackling this work.
Yeah.
So if this goes higher priority, you think you'll be able to?
Yeah, I think I can. So are we targeting just 1.4 as well again? Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about this in more detail because I don't have very deep knowledge in the webhook yet. So let's talk about the timeline. I think kind of when do we want to land this? Kind of what in months or something, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, but I'm more worried about timings rather than the technicals here, right? I think technicals is going to be straightforward. This is very similar to the validation webhook that we have. Okay. So that's going to be a slightly different thing that it's going to do. It's just that you have other things on the client libraries and then the validation tooling.
Yep. So
I'm a bit more worried about those taking a more significant chunk of your time.
Yeah. I think if we want to work on this, I think I will just need to reprioritize.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And the final thing is we started looking at some API model improvements. So right now I'm working on a document for establishing the principles. I'm hoping that by the next meeting it should be available ready for review broadly. And essentially for 1.4, we want to have those principles established and accepted, and then start on proposals on how we modify existing resources or introduce new ones. And I think those will come in later workgroup meetings. Any comments, feedbacks about the plan? Anything you guys want to see or think should be done differently?
About pulling Galley out of the repo, out of the COCO.
I don't think we can. I mean, so there are dependencies that we need to break. Some prerequisite work needs to be done, like the validation work is the primary thing. Before even we can attack that. And then given this is already a very busy schedule with 5.5, depending on the priorities, right? So I'm happy to accept external help with that, but
Well, that's kind of why I'm bringing it up. If somebody is interested in.
Okay, so let's then create this things to additional resources. And then the other one is actually complete pilot refactoring, which is make it Kubernetes agnostic. They're almost there. And third one is add a sidecar again in the old installer. It's kind of my wish list. So, any thoughts? Any comments?
Well, as you mentioned that this was going to be a short development cycle, what factors are contributing to that?
Essentially, Christmas.
So
Like
are we going to be
holidays.
trying to get 1.4 out the door like in November then?
Yes.
Okay, and then Christmas will be, for those who are working, will be all 1.5 targeted?
Correct.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Okay, so this is all I have. Feel free to take a look at the documents and leave comments. But otherwise, I want to solidify this plan by early next week and kind of send it to more TOC members. All right. Anything else to discuss? This was a short meeting.
Thanks, Oz.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thanks.